Guys, if you've been following the videos I make on my own on this channel, I've been talking a lot about David Ellison and Skydance and Paramount and the potential of them to buy Warner Brothers, which is a very, very big deal. There are other people being shopped around for the potential sale of Warner Brothers. But one of the questions that everybody has with the possibility of this sale is what happens to the things that are already in production? What happens to something that's already on the move like James Gunn's DCU? One of the things that they keep talking about in all of these articles, and I do believe that there is a growing sentiment of what I call David Ellison derangement syndrome, or just Ellison derangement syndrome, EDS.
I have it
for short. Mary has it, and the point is they're talking about how they're pushing Paramount in a more MAGA-centric direction, and what would that company, which is so heavily involved with the Trump administration via their deal with the UFC, all of this stuff, what would a James Gunn, who has severe TDS, what would his cinematic universe look like when it was under the guise of David Ellison? Now, there were initial statements made that David Ellison said that he would leave things in place and he would allow things to work as they were, but I think people find it harder and harder to believe that he would leave it alone. Like, all it takes is one call from Trump, like, I don't like this guy, I think we need to move in another direction, I think Superman needs to be made by somebody else.
Well, okay, so David Ellison gives me the creeps. I do have David Ellison derangement syndrome, just right off the bat. That's my gut feeling, is I don't like this guy. And there is a difference between someone being a Trump supporter, being MAGA, and being, on the other hand, a leech on Donald Trump's calf. Siphoning value, all that you can, out of the Trump administration, which is what he's doing. I think he's just trying to maneuver his relationship with the Trump administration toward his business goals. That has nothing to do with his values. That's why I think it's a ridiculous assumption that MAGA-coded beliefs or traditional values or patriotism have anything to do with the content that they're going to be developing at Warner Brothers if this deal goes through. One
of the reasons that this gets mentioned is because he was, before he took over the merger with Paramount, he was in charge of Skydance, which did things like Top Gun Maverick, and he's got that in the DNA of the company, that they have entertainment that's more male-centric. Now, that's one of the things that they talk about.
But that's a family movie.
Yeah,
I would say it's a more family-oriented, right?
Zero-G fighter pilots will always be male-coded.
Close as you can get. So here's the thing. The first Top Gun is a male-centric movie. Top Gun Maverick is much more saccharine, sweet, pulls at the heartstrings, very family-oriented, close as you can get to mass appeal. So, I wouldn't even see that as male-coded.
So they say that Variety highlights Ellison's moving the studio towards content for people who live outside the coastal bubbles, UFC at the White House, patriotic, action-driven franchise focus, and middle America priorities all align with a right-leaning, flag-forward tone. It'll be interesting to see if they can even find a way of differentiating themselves from the rest of Hollywood, which is already trying to wear a skin suit of middle America, a la cowboy hats and twisters, which I loved. But the point is it's never felt authentic when most of them... Cowboy LARP. It's never felt authentic when most of them do that anyways. But all of that is very much in complete contrast with James Gunn, who just made Peacemaker Season 2 with the Nazi Earth X with the flag and the swastika, right? He's not going to fall in line with those values. It doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen. The whole point of having a studio the size of Warner Brothers or the size of Paramount is you can have many, many different properties that speak to different groups of people.
As it relates to Superman, the most that could happen is that they bring back the truth, justice, and the American way motto.
I don't even know if they can legally do that. I think that's like a copyright thing.
It's copyright?
I think it's that it's public domain now or something. I forget. They're never going to do that. They're not going to bring back truth, justice, and the American way.
If we're taking into account James Gunn's weird statements about Superman being an immigrant...
Well, that wasn't even James Gunn. That was his brother, remember? That was Sean Gunn.
But James Gunn defended it, didn't he?
Yes.
He came right out and defended what he said, and he agreed with it.
Peacemaker Season 2 is obviously still a rebuke of middle America, and talking about Nazis in America in the year 2025 is extremely dated.
Okay, and then also, I'll try to actually bolster my gut instinct with some facts. I don't like the idea of Larry Ellison being the biggest buyer of TikTok and his son then owning this huge media conglomerate, which prospectively consists of Paramount Skydance and then Warner Brothers Discovery.
Possibly with CNN.
And yeah, of course, that means that CBS and CNN would be under the same umbrella. It's just creepy, and it looks like it's all going to be a Borg. And eventually, who knows, maybe Oracle is going to consume all of the Paramount Skydance properties.
Well, from what they said, like the competition is fierce in the Ellison household, and I'm guessing David Ellison probably has ambitions of one day being bigger than his father.
Didn't one of our super chats mention David Ellison's like lesbian sister the other day? What's her deal?
What was that? She was in charge of something else.
What is she doing? What's her name?
I don't know.
Let me find it.
So the point being, I lost my train of thought here. Like when it comes to David Ellison,
Megan Megan founded Annapurna Pictures in 2011 with a financial gift from her father, which produced Zero Dark 30 and others.
When it comes to David Ellison owning, my point is that while I laugh at the people that dislike him because I think that Hollywood always needs a villain, I think the reason they made Trump a villain, and even after a fact, the reason why they made David Zaslav like a villain because he canceled Batgirl and Coyote vs. Acme, right? Is Hollywood needs the big bad in the wings. But David Ellison has definitely got instincts that I don't agree with, even if I think it's funny to watch people squirm about him. He's been very, very open about the idea that Paramount Skydance isn't just a media company, it's a media and technology company, and that they want to use AI to bolster their entertainment divisions and use it to help figure out what people want to watch, which means access to Warner Brothers isn't just access to their streaming services, which would actually do something you would love, which is to gobble it all up and make it one big thing.
For my own convenience, maybe,
yes.
yeah.
But the problem is it just gives them access to just unbelievable amounts of data.
Yes.
And that's where the Oracle concerns come in as well.
Right.
I don't know if I buy that they're going to end up selling to Oracle, and I do think that the FTC would have something to say about all of that as well. As again, I don't think consolidation is a good thing creatively. The creatives in the industry don't like the idea of it because it hurts their job prospects and all of that stuff. But again, when you have these discussions, I have to look at this thing that says 1,000 jobs lost in Hollywood, and people like us are like, well, you guys told us to learn to code and you hate us anyways. So how many tears am I supposed to cry for you? The only tears I'm going to cry are for the good stories that audiences will lose, not necessarily for the creatives who are going to come out and say, fuck AI.
Okay, guys, I just have to tell you to Google a picture of David Ellison and then Google a picture of Mike Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, and tell me that they weren't created in the same lab. They look like clones of each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, another thing I don't like is that Paramount has blacklisted stars in Hollywood deemed overtly anti-Semitic.
To be fair,
this is weird.
From the community post, the community note on this tab says it doesn't list these faces specifically, but it listed them as likely candidates.
Okay, so it includes...
It sure looks like the likes of Javier Bardem, Joaquin Phoenix, Emma Stone, and Mark Ruffalo won't be making movies for Paramount. That's what it says. It doesn't list them specifically.
Includes people who signed the Film Workers for Palestine pledge. Yorgos Lanthimos, Ava DuVernay, Boots Riley, Adam McKay, Olivia Colman, Mark Ruffalo. There are tons of names. Tilda Swinton. Emma Stone, Andrew Garfield, Harris Dickinson, Guy Pearce.
There was a misrepresentation that David Corenswet signed it, but apparently that was false.
That wasn't true?
That was not true, apparently.
Oh, I wonder why that was reported.
Because he works for DC
engagement?
and engagement bait.
That was engagement bait. Okay.
Before we do that, I want to draw.
Anti-profit. I think that is an anti-profit driven motive on the part of David Ellison.
I guess my point to that is, me and you had a discussion before the show of whether that became first order of importance. I guess my point is that the industry has so many people, and the thing I laugh about with most of these people is like, they will speak out all they want, but what did Ricky Gervais say? If ISIS started a film company, that you would be first in line to sign up for it. Most of them will take the paycheck wherever they can get it, and there are plenty of big name actors that I can't think of off the top of my head because I didn't write a bunch of them down, but that's only a couple of names.
Sure,
like there are tons
they'll
of
sign
people.
the pledge, But are they gonna boycott Paramount? Are they gonna stop working
No,
with
I don't.
Paramount and its subsidiaries? No.
No, I don't think that most will.
Unless they're blacklisted and don't have an option to.
But I think for David Ellison, his point is that there are so many actors out there that are worth it, that blacklisting a couple of good actors is like, okay, yes, I will admit, Mark Ruffalo is a good actor. Javier Bardem is a fantastic actor, but it's not the end of the world if you don't hire them at their studios. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's a bad idea to do the blacklist. I think that these actors, now if you want to talk about actors who have gone on to do Paramount movies and then speak out at the most inopportune time, and then you want to make a pointed case like, okay, we hired Javier Bardem to do, I don't know, whatever, like Days of Thunder 2. And then he started talking about Palestine, like at the press tour. First of all, Tom Cruise would be pissed. But second of all, then I think that is like a more targeted approach. Like, we don't want to work with you, not because he could cloak it in this argument. It's not because you're pro-Palestine. It's because you talk politics at all on the press tour. But a blanket ban on actors just because they signed some type of, what was it?
The Film Workers for Palestine.
I think it's a stupid idea, but I don't, like, I completely understand where they're coming from, because the studio knows that people like these actors are going to be a problem. They're going to speak out at the most inopportune time, and it's incumbent on the actors to decide what matters more to them. Speaking out about Palestine or getting work. If you're Javier Bardem and you've made your money, you can do whatever you want. The younger actors that do it even more so these days seem to be willing to speak out in lieu of possibly losing work, like Melissa Barrera.
But let's be realistic here. David Ellison and his father are radical ideologues when it comes to Israel. They literally think that he's got a strong relationship with Bibi Netanyahu. That being somehow vaguely pro-Palestine is anti-Semitic. They conflate those things, that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. So that's a totally warped definition to go off of if they're creating some sort of shit list. I
think the shit list is a bad idea. Absolutely. I'm just saying, like, if they were to do it, there was a cleverer way to go about it, but it would require them to have specific examples, and they're not going to do that. Look, Scream is going through this as well with the Melissa Barrera stuff coming back up in lieu of Scream 7 coming out, and that trailer's still doing fine, but like, that was the return of Nev Campbell. That was always going to happen. And then you've got Matthew Lillard talking about F-Ice. It's like they can't keep anything. He's not going to be
blacklisted for that.
No.
None of the actors who are outspoken about leftist politics, generally speaking, are going to get blacklisted.
But the point is they're causing their movies undue stress that they don't need. I guess Five Nights at Freddy's is coming out before that anyways.
You look at this Variety report on David Ellison's first 100 days at Paramount. One of the authors is Tatiana Siegel, who also authored the piece post Snow White about how it bombed at the box office. And the main culprit they named in that article for Snow White flopping was Rachel Zegler's pro-Palestine remarks, which is deluded and insane and totally detached from reality.
It's poor framing.
Yeah.
Yes. The other thing that could kind of point you in this direction that that James Gunn is doing is there are reports that they are giving Superman and Lobo more screen time in Supergirl. Like, James Gunn is pretty good about not needing reshoots. Like, one compliment that I will give him is, although I think he talks on the internet too much with people, it kind of it kind of ruins the mystery around the movies. A lot of people appreciate the open communication. He's very good about getting his stuff done on time. He doesn't start filming a movie until the script is done, which feels like it should be common sense. But these days it doesn't seem like it is. But if they're going back in reshoots to add more Lobo and add more Superman because they want to appeal to boys, supposedly, that could be in line with something that would be down the road with Paramount. Now, look, there are other companies that have talked about making offers. Netflix isn't interested in the terrestrial television aspects of Warner Brothers, but it would absolutely be interested in its streaming service. They have acquired the same financial firm that helped Skydance merge with Paramount, getting them financial information, perspectives, and all the things that they would need to prepare a bid. But Netflix isn't pro-acquisition the way somebody like Disney is. Like, Disney is very pro-acquisition. Buy Pixar, buy Lucasfilm, buy Marvel. That's how Bob Iger built his empire, is by buying other things rather than bolstering the stuff they've already had. Netflix is very ardently pro building their own stuff, even if it means one season every 8 years. from shows that you like. But I don't think that consolidation is a good idea. I do laugh at the people that have Ellison derangement syndrome because it reminds me of early days Trump derangement syndrome, and he's probably going to be funnier to watch than David Zaslav.
David Ellison has none of the same virtues and charms of Donald Trump. I'll just say that.
But the other thing was, I remember in the lead up to the election for 2024, and I think I mentioned this in my video on Ellison, even David Zaslav, when they asked him about like who he was voting for, I don't know if he gave an answer, but he said he appreciated that Trump was very pro acquisition and business. Like basically like if he gets into office and I want to buy something, he's not going to put the FTC in the way.
I could be misremembering, but wasn't Oracle like a huge benefactor of the Trump campaign this time around?
I mean, I know him and Larry Ellison are close, and obviously the TikTok deal was
totally pre-planned. Yeah.
So, be that what it is, I'm of two minds. If I'm Paramount and I'm buying Warner Brothers, do you want to keep it running smoothly, or do you want to just drop everything and start again? There are risks to just once again dropping everything off a cliff and starting from scratch for like the 5th time. Like you've got the Snyder Bros who are excited about the idea of of Netflix possibly buying Warner Brothers because Netflix has a relationship with Zack Snyder. They're like, oh man, maybe when he gets done with Rebel Moon 7, we can get a new Batman movie. I'm being facetious. He's doing his own movie right now. Right now, Zack Snyder's working on this passion project of his. But the point is either way, the acquisition doesn't really benefit the audiences anymore because it just means less content. The only thing that it's really going to save you or I is like $15 on a new streaming service. But how many of you have, other than me, have Paramount Plus anyways?
I guess let us know in the chat if you do.
Yeah, and they're losing Taylor Sheridan in 2028. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.